All right, today we are going to be talking about living in Fort Walton Beach and the surrounding area, pros and cons of living in the area, all about it. And today we have Kevin Pillow. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me, Brian.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you're new to the channel, we talk and explore about all different places to live in the United States and also internationally as well. So Kevin is going to give us the breakdown of what it's like to live in the area. So first and foremost, let's talk about area location of where you're at. So just to kind of show on the screen right now, looks like you guys are in a very special part of Florida, very specific, close to Tallahassee. But talk about a little bit about like where you're located and maybe how that affects, because it's like separate from Florida kind of a little bit. So
So what's really weird about living out here is that even though we're one state, we're two different time zones. So we're actually on Central Time, right? But Tallahassee and the rest of Florida on the East Coast is on Eastern Standard Time. So it's really interesting when you're talking to someone that's like 4 hours away in the same state, and you have two different time zones you got to coordinate. So we're actually closer to Alabama, so Pensacola, Destin, Fort Walton Beach. So we're right on that Gulf of Mexico, south of Alabama, and it's still very Florida vibes, right? But with a little bit of that Alabama flavor, and that Alabama humidity.
okay, yeah, because you're not too far from New Orleans as well.
No, so we're about, I would say most people like to go out to New Orleans because you can gamble out there. So they have the casinos and whatnot. So that's about 3 hours. So that's about, I think 3 hours, 3.5 hours to Biloxi is where most people like to go.
For like driving wise.
Yep, driving wise.
Cool. Okay. Do people fly New Orleans or do they just mostly drive?
Most people just drive. Now, if you have the money to fly or you have like your private pilot's license, I'm sure people do fly out there. We have a few small airports in this area. And then, we have VPS, which is attached to Eglin Air Force Base. So that's where a lot of people will fly into the area, or they can fly into Pensacola International Airport.
Sweet. Okay, so Pensacola is kind of like is it the bigger city kind of nearby you guys?
Yeah, I would say that's the largest metro area compared to Destin and Fort Walton Beach, population-wise. And just, we don't even have really a main highway, 98, which runs through Navarre, Destin, or Fort Walton Beach, and then into Destin, and takes you all the way down Panama City Beach, is going to be like the main highway that people use.
Okay, great. So, okay, you alluded a little bit to the weather. Let's talk about the weather, because we know Florida's humid, but talk about specifically in your area.
Yeah, so Florida, it's already humid, right? And it's already hot. But being up here in the Panhandle, it's like a little bit higher level of humidity. Thankfully, like being right on the beach, we do get that ocean breeze that kind of cools it off a little bit. So typically in the winter months, since we are a little bit further north than like South Florida or Orlando, it does tend to get into the 40s, sometimes into the 30s. So you might get like some frost days that only last.
It can get pretty cold.
Yeah, during the winter, which is typically, so we'll see like December, it starts to get cold around November, December, and then into January, right, is kind of where we see the coldest months. But by the time that February or March hits, we're already back in like 60s, 65, which for us, that's cold. But I know for a lot of people in the Midwest, that's like a perfect day.
Yeah. That's really interesting, actually. So in the Panhandle, the weather is like just completely a little bit different than the rest of Florida type of thing.
It's still hot, it's still humid, and it's just a little bit more humid than I would say the rest of Florida.
Is there like, so it sounds like a weird question, but is there like Panhandle culture, like where like it's like, oh, we live in this part of Florida, and then like there's like the rest of the people? Like...
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So it's super funny. I grew up all over Florida. I'm originally born from Orlando, and then I grew up in South Florida. And we would always make fun of people in the Panhandle as like just these random people in like the northwest corner of the state, just kind of like hillbillies. But that's because I didn't know any better. But you get over here and it's such a cool culture. The vibe is like that Jimmy Buffett, Margaritaville vibe around this area. And it's kind of because this used to be a pirate like holdout back in the days.
Oh,
So like pirates were actually like part of the culture here. And there's a
okay.
huge festival every year. Last one was like 2 weeks. It's called the Billy Bowlegs Festival. And I mean, people are just like walking around downtown Fort Walton in like pirate costumes. It's crazy.
What the
They
heck?
have like parades and everything's like all dressed up and pirate themed, and the floats are pirate ships. And if you go to Destin, the Harbor Walk, there's actually a pirate ship that you can like get on
Hmm.
and like take a tour of the bay. Like you could probably like pull that up on the computer
Hmm.
and like show the viewers
Yeah.
like this pirate
Yeah.
ship. It's crazy.
Okay. Have you been?
No, you know what's crazy? I have my son, he's about to turn 2, and I've been telling my wife, like, hey, we need to go on this pirate ship with him. He's gonna love it. So now that COVID's kind of like going away, we're seeing a huge influx of people coming into the area because it's pretty affordable to like just drive down here. You don't
Hmm.
really have to fly like Orlando or some other places.
They come in the area to like thing like as as tourists from
Yeah.
neighboring states, or even just other parts of Florida. Kind of
Yeah,
thing.
so mainly, it's funny. Other parts of Florida don't really come here. I feel like
Oh.
they just stay further south. But we do get a ton of people from Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, that Bible Belt. Get a ton of people coming from there. And then also, it's a huge military community. So we have Eglin, which houses one of the largest, if I think it's the largest military like owned land. So the Eglin Range Complex, they do a bunch of testing for their fighter jets out here, like the F-22s and the F-35s. You have AFSOC, which is like Air Force Special Operations Command, has a huge presence out here. The Rangers, this is where a portion of their training takes place in
Hmm.
like the wooded area of the range.
Hmm.
And then you have the Navy out in Pensacola as well. So huge military presence here. Typically, you have the population is military, or they're coming down for vacation, or they're kind of just retirees.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Random question. Have you seen Top Gun yet?
No, I haven't, not yet. I'm not seeing it until like I'm watching it IMAX. That's the promise I gave myself because everyone
Okay.
told me to. So
That's a good one. Okay, yeah, no, I could see how it would be worth it to see in IMAX. It's yeah, it's really good.
it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, okay, random side note, but let's talk about like so the beaches down in the area. So like how are the beaches in Fort Walton Beach and in the surrounding
So
area?
like I kind of mentioned to you earlier before we went live, so Fort Walton Beach is more of like the city. If you want to think of like the actual beach, it's Okaloosa Island. So Okaloosa Island is where you have the condos and you have like the Gulf area, which is our like little mini SeaWorld. Right? It's an aquarium with like dolphins and stuff. They have pretty cool shows, penguins and stuff. There's a convention center. There's also a few hotels in the areas like the island. It's a pretty popular hotel. And then you keep going west or east on 98, and that'll take you into Destin. And then you kind of get into that life. But going back to the beaches, even though we're all on the coast, each beach has its own personality. And like even the sand is a little bit different.
Hmm.
So if you go into like Navarre is probably like a 15-minute drive from Okaloosa Island or Fort Walton Beach, but the water out there is not as clear. It's a lot quieter though, and the sand is like a little bit more shelly, like brown and stuff like that. It's still a beautiful beach. It's just not the same as Okaloosa Island has white sand and emerald water, and then Destin has that white sand and emerald water.
So you have like different types of beaches, like depending on what you kind of want to visit.
Yeah, so like if you're really looking for that beautiful like postcard image of like emerald water and like white sands, you're spot on. If you go to Okaloosa Island, Henderson State Park, which is in Destin, it's like $5 to get in. I mean, that is like the place to go. And then also Scenic Highway 98, there is the beachfront all along that highway, which is absolutely gorgeous. And I went there for Father's Day with my son and my wife, and it was crazy, man. We had like a yacht parked, like a legit yacht, just like anchored maybe like a couple miles off the coast. You have the helicopters. I don't know if you've ever seen like Magnum PI, but they have helicopter tours around here.
Oh wow!
So, like these helicopters are flying like maybe 300-400 feet overhead, and just
Dang.
buzzing the beach back and forth. So it's super cool. And then they have like airplanes, like these little seaplanes that do the same thing. They just fly up and down the coast, giving people like a tour of from the air. But
That's
they're
kind
flying low. Yeah, my
yeah, yeah.
son's just sitting there. He's like waving it out the
Oh,
planes and the helicopters and stuff.
shoot. Yeah, because a lot of places they get very upset if you fly low.
Yeah, but here and then so you also have the military guys, the C-130s, and we have the Ospreys. So I don't know if you've ever seen like the weird like twin propeller like helicopter that turns into an airplane.
No, I don't think I have.
So check it out. It's called the Osprey. Those guys also do like low level flying along the beach. So like people are just hanging out, and then you just have like this special forces like helicopter slash airplane just like fly by you. It's crazy. So,
That's cool. That's very unique. Like to the,
yeah.
specifically to the area. I'm sure. Yeah.
Trust me, you're not gonna get that anywhere else in Florida.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'm also all for the helicopter tour too. I've never done that, so it's on the bucket list. Let's dive into the cost of living a little bit. So
Yeah.
tell us about like low, medium, high kind of markets, and whether it be renting or purchasing a home in the area.
So, I mean, you talk to other agents, and I don't know how it is for their market, but here it's wild. So, we've seen price year over year go up about 20%. And so for Fort Walton Beach, that's mainly just residential homes. A lot of people that are buying that are military, or like I said, the retirees and stuff like that. But we also have that vacation rental market that's really big. So fortunately, Fort Walton Beach doesn't really get affected by that. It's more like Okaloosa Island and Destin that sees that short-term rental market that they have to kind of compete with for residential houses.
Hmm.
But so prices have gone up. In Fort Walton Beach, the median income was around like 50,000. So Fort Walton Beach isn't as expensive to live as like Destin. I would say Destin is the cost of living is higher. Just the real estate is more, and because of the tourism, prices are just higher. So I would think of Navarre as like a suburb. So I think the median income out there is about 80,000 a year. But the real estate's a little bit higher as well. So you see median home prices around like 450,000 out there, whereas in Fort Walton Beach you're looking at about 400,000, and then in Destin about 470. But there's so many condos down there that are selling for like $500,000 plus that it kind of skews the data. As you go further west, you have Gulf Breeze, which it's kind of funny. I guess people with money like to go further away from like the city, because out there there's a lot of health workers in the Gulf Breeze area. So there you kind of seeing like 80 to 100,000.
Yeah. Okay. So the short-term rental, Airbnb market it's a part of like the housing market, very much so in the area, which has an effect ultimately, and whether for better, for worse, depending on your opinion. I'm a capitalist at my heart, so I think it's all good for the free market. But for people buying, and is that just like a typical like 3-bedroom 2-bath kind of house, kind of you're talking about in that price range?
Yeah, so a typical 3-bed 2-bath in Fort Walton Beach right now will probably run you about 380, 390, and a lot of the housing out here, unfortunately, is older. So a lot of times you see that the roofs need to be replaced, or you're starting to have to do like a 4-point inspection because they're hitting 30 years, and that's just the requirement from insurance companies. So the houses are older, the maintenance repair is more expensive, and unfortunately the prices are still kind of high on those. If you were to go to like Navarre, you're looking at a 3-2, that's probably going to run you in the 400s.
Got it.
But you get more land out there as well.
Yeah, pros and cons. You kind of alluded a little bit to healthcare workers, so let's dive into healthcare in the area and such. What does that look like in terms of the area?
Well, so for Fort Walton Beach, healthcare is not a huge driver. We do have the Air Force Base, so Eglin has a decent sized hospital, but that's really for like the military side. There's also Fort Walton Beach Medical Center. It's a medium sized hospital that services the area. Then, if you get out towards like Destin, there are some I would call them like the ER type clinics, but nothing big. And then once you get to Sandestin, you have a huge hospital. It's called Ascension Sacred Heart. It's an amazing facility. I would call it like a top-notch hospital that
What's the name of
most
it?
people. It's a Ascension Sacred Heart. So it's a branch. They're all the way from Pensacola. I don't know how far they spread it, but they're in Pensacola, Gulf Breeze, and Destin. So they're a private medical system. They're the best. I know a lot of people that are in the military will actually like try to not have their child in the military hospital just so they can go to Ascension Sacred Heart. So,
really? What's the reasoning? What's the reasoning for that? Like,
so like the rooms for like giving birth are like huge, like little suites almost. And the staff and the quality of care is extremely, it's just up there. It's really high. And so, I mean, they have pediatric services. I mean, that's where my son goes. And it's the best. I don't know how to, there's no other way to put it. Like you can just tell the difference in quality. And there are other services like other pediatricians, and they're not bad, but the level of the physicians there and
people
the way
like
the rooms look.
The service, like it's like
it's really clean.
The quality.
Yeah. A lot of people will say it's almost like staying at a hotel.
Really?
It doesn't feel like you're at a hospital. Yeah.
Huh. That's cool.
Check it out. Yeah.
No, okay, that makes sense. Gotcha. And I'm sure the military is more like good service, but just more of the essentials kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, they do a good job of servicing the military members, but I mean, it's not going to be that private level of service, right? Where you feel like you're at a hotel. You're at a military hospital.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, and rightfully so, because taxpayer dollars. So
yes, save on the taxpayer dollars for that.
Yeah. As long as good service, good quality. Hey, we got it. We don't need like the extra silk pillows that we have here and stuff like that.
You don't want to break out though.
So I was in Mexico and I broke out a little bit because Airbnb. But let's stay on track. In terms of local transportation, that kind of going to the airport and stuff like that. Tell us a little bit more about that in the area.
Yeah, so it's Florida. So if you know anything about Florida, you need to drive wherever you go. And unfortunately, like this area doesn't have a bus or metro system. We don't have any kind of like trains or trolleys, things like that. We do just bus and Uber. Car, Uber. That's kind of how most people get around. If you need to fly out of Destin, you're gonna fly to like VPS, which is that airport I told you that is connected to the Air Force Base over at Eglin, or you can fly out of Pensacola.
What's the name of the airport again?
It's a VPS. So I believe it's like Valparaiso, Destin. It's like a regional airport. So if you've heard of Atlanta International Airport, that's like the main hub, right? So if you're flying from anywhere, in the States or even internationally, you're gonna land at Atlanta, and then you're gonna fly out to VPS, to the regional airport.
Got it. So like that's like the main. You fly to Atlanta and then you go elsewhere, kind of thing.
Yeah. So like Atlanta's going to be like your main hub, and then you fly out to Destin.
I guess in terms of like the culture and typically like people who are either moving to the area or living in the area, is it like how would you describe it? Is it like working professionals, or is it like people who are retiring, or for the area?
Yeah, so each city has its own, I would say, identity and the type of people that go there. So Navarre, a huge influence of retired military members. So either they were stationed there and they wanted to come back down and just live here, or they just finished out their career here and that's where they stayed. So Navarre is really well known for like its active duty and retired vets. That's kind of the culture there. You move into the same as kind of for Fort Walton Beach, but Okaloosa Island is more like vacationers, snowbirds coming down, people retiring kind of thing, and families just visiting. And Destin, that's kind of where you start to get into like the affluent side of the culture and like what their identity is. But it's because it's a wealthy area. So there's more people that are well-to-do. A lot of retirees. You'll see a lot of people who just kind of like taking their time if they're not vacationing and they live in the area. Just going to Target at 12 o'clock in the afternoon shopping all day. Stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's the further east you go, the wealthier the zip codes get. So Destin is like the jump-off point where it starts, and then you get to like Santa Rosa Beach, 38. That's kind of like everything's over $1 million. It's a very affluent area, and then you get to Alice Beach. And Alice Beach, most properties are about probably like $2 to $3 million, and they're doing some really great construction out there. It's like a whole city that's all white. It's like have you ever seen like a picture of Greece, and like they have these adobe buildings everywhere that are all painted white? It's like that. It's in the building codes, like there's no like fast food restaurants out there. You have people that have like these bumper stickers that'll be like 30A or like Alice Beach, and it's just kind of like a way to be like, I live here, So
Where specifically the area again? Where was that you said for the?
So like 30A and Alice Beach. So it's spelled ALYS, and it's just a beautiful area. So I would encourage you to check it out.
Yeah.
But and then you kind of get into Inlet Beach, and you still have that. I would say that's like the wealthiest areas. It's almost like if you're in LA, I don't know what, like Beverly Hills, that's the transition you get. So
it's like
high-end stores and stuff.
Yeah. No, we have like there's a difference between Seal Beach, and I love Seal Beach for all of you out there, or if you go to Newport, where it's like you're like, wow, like these houses are really nice, and the water's cleaner somehow. What happened? Sorry for the deal.
They have a secret they're not telling you about. That's what it is.
Yeah, no, for real. But yeah, Seal Beach is cool. I'm all for it though. In terms of like, okay, so I think it's interesting because you've lived in different parts of Florida. Remind us again of the parts of Florida you've lived in.
Yeah, so I lived in Orlando. I was born there, and then I went to college there for a little bit before I joined the military. And then I lived in Fort Lauderdale for about 10 years. That's kind of where I graduated high school and stuff like that. So I've seen it all. I mean, in South Florida, it's a different beast entirely. So the state of Florida, people kind of make fun of it for how crazy it is, but to some extent, it's true, right? Like you have, the South Florida where it's the Tri-County area. Once you go past the Tri-County area, it turns into like farmland, like a bunch of farmers and just very rural areas. You get to Orlando, it's kind of like being back in civilization again. You leave Orlando, you're back in farmland. So you get to like Tallahassee or Jacksonville kind of thing. But I mean, you have Tampa as well. Tampa's booming. It's been growing, insanely. So a lot of people are coming down here from other states, and Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, I think in Orlando are like the areas that most people are going to.
Yeah. No, most definitely. Yeah, that's why it's like for your specific area, Walton Beach and just that whole surrounding area. It's like it's interesting. I guess like for you comparing it to other parts, like how would you kind of describe it or compare it? Like what you like about it, what you don't.
So Fort Walton Beach, it's small, and I don't think, when they built that city, they didn't expect for it to grow to the size that it's growing to. And so what you're seeing is the infrastructure and the amount of land available for people to like develop on is not keeping up with the growth of the population. So you're getting a lot of people coming down here to want to live here, but there's not enough homes. They're trying to build to keep up with the demand. And I mean, you look at the traffic, if you look at the map, Highway 98 is it. Like, I mean, it's a 2-lane highway going each direction. So if there's an accident and you need to go to like Pensacola and there's an accident like on your way there, well, guess what? You're waiting. There's no detours. You're waiting until that thing gets cleared up. So it is smaller, but I would say compared to like the big cities is you just know your way around a lot better. And it is a little bit smaller, but it's a nice hometown feel. So that's kind of what I like about it.
That's
You have
cool.
the beach here.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's like if you are a fan of the beach, there's plenty of beaches to pick from.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds like the population isn't giant, so it's like, the beaches don't get super crowded. I'm sure maybe holidays or something.
The population around Fort Walton Beach is about 150,000 people.
Mhm.
So I think compared to Pensacola, I think Pensacola is probably pushing like 400,000, maybe 500,000.
Mhm. Yeah. How would you describe the culture in the area if you had to kind of sum it up?
Military, a ton of military bars, huge support for vets and military in general. Yeah, right. Like
I'm all for
most
it.
people, yeah. I mean, you see the C, well, they have the C-130s, and then they have the AC-130s. If you ever heard of the gunships, like those are like the C-130s that have the big guns that come out the side, and
Hmm.
they're able to shoot from them. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah, the culture around here is just a huge military support, and then beach town. So a lot of people with their jeeps, uh, that are pretty relaxed. So it's not like a tech center. Like it's not like Silicon Valley or suburbia. I think it's more just like military friendly, really pet friendly. Everywhere you go, like you can bring your dogs.
Oh, cool.
Restaurants and stuff are totally cool with you bringing your dogs, and like beach vibe. A lot of sandals.
How's the fishing in the area?
Amazing. Actually, so what's crazy is like red snapper season just kicked off.
Red
People love
snapper.
red snapper.
Red snapper
Yeah,
season. Okay.
yeah. So like a ton of people are coming down here to do that. They just had an event like for marlin fishing as well. They go out and they just try to catch the biggest marlin. I forget what the weight of the winning one was, but there's just a bunch of events around fishing. We have poker runs, which a poker run is like you have these guys with like the cigarette boats and stuff that are like these long, fast. These boats do like 150 to 200 miles an hour, and yeah, they'll start at Destin and they'll go to like one of the beaches closer to like the Panama City Beach and stuff. So
Okay.
a lot
That's
of cool
awesome.
stuff to do. Yeah, boating is definitely part of the culture. So boating and fishing is huge down here as well. People love to like parasailing as well, and like kiteboarding. Also, you'll see like if you're driving down 98 towards Destin, there's like a long stretch of road, and right when you pass Okaloosa Island, you'll just see them on both sides. People are just out there, kite sailing and stuff like that, or fishing.
That's so cool. So, in terms of like, there's plenty of fish in the area. Like, does that have an impact on the restaurants and stuff? Like people, restaurants, they serve fresh fish and stuff. Like, kind
Yeah,
of.
absolutely. So a lot of the restaurants, they don't get all their fish from like local fishermen, but they get most of it,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is awesome. And the restaurants, especially like in Destin and stuff, are some of them are a little bit expensive, but that's just because of the tourism.
Hmm.
But they're amazing. So like Beauchamp's is like one of my favorite places to go, and then there's like a ton of like local little restaurants. So, surprisingly, there's not that many chain restaurants, which is I think good if you like to come and do like the whole foodie thing.
Yeah.
A lot of like smaller mom and pop type restaurants.
Yeah. Yeah. Like family businesses and stuff.
Yeah.
That's great. That's so cool. I guess just kind of like wrapping it up and stuff like, if someone's gonna visit or consider moving to the area, like what are some things you would kind of recommend for them?
I guess the first thing would be just think about what you want out of your surroundings. So if you're looking for something that's like quiet and you want some more land when you buy your house or where you live, you don't want a bunch of neighbors, well, maybe Navarre and Gulf Breeze is the perfect area for you because it's out of the way. It's a lot of land, and most of your neighbors are going to be nice and very respectful because most of them have a military background.
Hmm.
If you're looking for something a little bit more social, then Fort Walton Beach is a little bit more dense, closer to like the beach side, and Destin is kind of where you want to be because that's like the thick of it. Now, if you got a little bit of money to spend, you could go to Miramar Beach, which is also really nice. Or if you like to golf, Destin has a ton of golf courses. So I would say figure out what you want out of your experience down here, and then get in touch with an agent that specializes in that market. So
100%.
that'd be the biggest thing to do.
Yeah. No, those are good tips. It just depends what you're trying to get out of the area, and if you're looking to move to the area, or even if you're just looking to visit. So you can kind of.
Yeah, I mean, this area is it's booming for Airbnbs, just because, like I said, it's getting expensive to fly places and stuff. So people are like, if I can drive for like 3 or 4 hours, you know, I'll definitely pay, to stay at a place for a few $100 a night versus spending that money on a plane ticket.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Gas, or as it's no surprise, all gas prices have gone up. So it's people are traveling a little closer to where they live.
Yeah.
For those vacations and stuff. So when those prices will go down, we will find out.
Yeah. And I think there's no way I can finish this interview without talking about Crab Island.
Oh,
so I don't know if you've ever heard about Crab Island.
I haven't. What's that?
But yeah, you got to check it out. So it's literally so in like Destin Harbor, there's a shallow sandbar, but it is a huge sandbar. And what people do is literally hundreds of boats will just park up on this sandbar and just party. And it's not like crazy Panama City beach party, but it's because it's still like family friendly. Like they have these pontoon boats that have been modified with like water slides and stuff like that. Like you bring the kids out. A lot of people have like their pontoon boats just tied up together, and they're just out there having a good time. So that's a huge attraction as well. It's there's tons of like drone videos of like, it's like, I don't know, it's like a huge parking lot of boats in the middle of the ocean. It's crazy. And like you have like this beautiful blue water. You have the bridge that goes into Destin. Just see everybody hanging out and living their best life.
Yeah. So like how far off of like the land do they park? They just like a couple 100 feet, or I guess
yeah. So you have they're probably like a few hundred feet or a few hundred yards from like either side of like the mainland. They're literally in the middle of the day with this
that's so cool. Is it like a certain season that they do that, or?
Yeah, so typically, our seasonality, I mean, people go the year round, but when it's wintertime, most people don't. You might see a boat or two out there.
Yeah.
It's really when like our vacation season starts. So in March is when the vacation season, like spring break kind of starts. People are coming down. We peak in June and July. So like right now is peak season. And then right after, July, kind of August, September, kids are going back to school. People are wrapping up their summer vacations, and then we kind of turn back into a sleepy town.
Got it. That's so cool. That's really neat. People pretty friendly, I'm sure. Like you can just kind of.
Yeah, it's super friendly. Like it's like that camaraderie of just like, I have a boat, you got a boat. Like, are we best friends? It's crazy. So
let's hang out in the ocean. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's neat. That's that's definitely something to see. I feel like if you're visiting the area, like you have to, you kind of, whether that's you're just looking afar, or like I'm sure you can rent a small boat and kind of just go by it and just kind of.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what a lot of people do. They just rent a boat, and the captain comes with the boat, so like they're going out there and just having a blast.
That's so interesting. I love that. That's like,
yeah, we're like a little hidden secret. Once people find out about us, they're like, dude, I had no idea like it was this cool down here. Like we got military, you got fighter jets flying around, cool helicopters flying around. Everybody's super friendly, like super respectful because of like the culture of like that military like honor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And crime rates are really low. Like you don't really see crime out here.
Oh, interesting. That's I understand Florida is now the whole US we can have carry to conceal Supreme Court. But cool. So guys, wrapping this up, if you have any other questions for Kevin, his information will be up top and also in the description, and you can send him a private message, and I'm sure he'll be happy to help and assist and give any more information if you have questions. So
if anyone has any questions, or like I do video tours all the time for out of state people, especially like military people, they got to lock something up. So yeah, if you ever need any help, any questions you have, I'd be more than happy to like sit down with you and just go over it.
Awesome. Awesome. And then I can't end this video without saying thank you for your service. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. It's been a pleasure serving my country. So
Yeah, good. All right, guys. Till next time.